The 76ers closing in on a clinch, looking to rise up, heading into game 4 against the Washington Wizards. Ben Simmons and George Hill, with Doc Rivers in the trail position, heading into Capital One Arena tonight in our nation's capital site of game 4 of this best of 7 Eastern Conference quarterfinal series. I love the new red Nike pullover. Doc Rivers with the Snake Liberty Bell playoff logo. Phil Unite, little dab for Mike Scott as the 76ers get ready for what they hope is an elimination evening at the expense of the Washington Wizards. How you doing? Happy Memorial Day. Welcome to 7-6 Live Countdown. I'm Brian Seltzer, Lauren Rosen. Great to see you. The 76ers, they are on the brink of a sweep. This franchise has not swept a best-of-7 series, which would be 4 straight wins, since 1985. So the Sixers looking to hopefully replicate that feat tonight and not let this thing play out any further. Sit back, relax, and await the winner of the Hawks and the Knicks.
It would be an exciting night indeed for the 76ers if they could get that 4th win and that first sweep in quite some time. Like you said, happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all who have served. And one last thing, happy birthday to you, Seltz. Thank you so much for doing the show on a big day in your life. You're the ultimate pro. It's so much fun to do this with you, and I appreciate you doing it on your birthday when you could have been somewhere else. You didn't leave your teammate hanging out to dry, and I appreciate you. Happy birthday, Seltz.
There's nowhere else we'd rather be tonight. Potential closeout opportunity for the 76ers. Of course, we're here. It's one of those things that you get to a certain age. When you go up, you also feel like you're going down, if you catch my drift. So we're just not paying attention to numbers. We're just checking off the days, checking off the years, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's fun. We got a game tonight. Game that I feel pretty good about, Lauren. I think for people who have watched this fine, we hope it's a fine program in the past or listened to our podcast. I'm not typically one to get very takey or make bold declarative statements. I did not see much from the Washington Wizards in terms of resistance or mental fortitude in game 3 the other night. That's not to say I'm not expecting to see them be urgent and desperate tonight, but it almost feels like it might be a little bit too late for that. I think the 76ers, they just look like they're in a great spot. And as the head coach of Washington said himself, they look like a championship level team right now.
Well, the Wizards had opportunities to make adjustments. They did, adding Davis Bertans to the starting lineup in this game 3, but unfortunately, it didn't work the way they were hoping to. This team really hasn't had an answer for the Sixers since Joel Embiid got out of foul trouble in that first half of game 1. It's been all Sixers ever since, and game 3 was absolutely no exception. Really good, too, to see the Sixers go out on the road for the first time in over 2 weeks and be as dominant as they were in game 3.
One of the great things, Lauren, about that performance, and we talked about this before the game the other night for the Sixers on Saturday, was that, listen, the Sixers, they were up 2-0. They were coming off a very convincing win at the Center in game 2. Human nature to perhaps take a step back, not have your foot on the gas quite as much, perhaps. Not for this team. They were so businesslike and professional against the Wizards on Saturday in game 3. It was like, listen, we feel like we've got you right where we want you, and we're going to not step off the gas one bit.
Joel Embiid there embracing that opposing crowd. He said he loved the Sixers fans that were in attendance, but he was feeding off of the Wizards fans who are not his biggest fans. It was really cool to see Joel also get it going. That playoff career high 36 points came pretty easily to him, Seltz. It was really, really cool to see Joel fire the way that he did, and all that in just 27 minutes, too. Just a really impressive outing from Joel and the rest of the starting lineup.
I think we do need to acknowledge the reality the 76ers are a 1 seed for a very legit reason. The Washington Wizards are an 8 seed that had to battle through 2 play-in games to get here. The 76ers, though, when they're playing and clicking like they were in game 3 with Embiid being an absolute unstoppable force, going for a playoff career high 36 points, and their top 2 shooters, talking about the Sixers and Seth Curry and Danny Green, clicking on all cylinders. Hard to envision many teams being able to stop them, and the defense of the Sixers playing at the level it was playing at as well.
Yeah, you said it, Self. The Wizards are obviously a team that had to fight their way to this position. The Sixers found themselves in the playoffs long before the end of the regular season. So interesting to see this first round matchup go this way for the Sixers, at least thus far, because you'd imagine there will be some tougher opponents headed down the stretch, maybe guys that are going to test the Sixers a little bit more. But cool to see this group get their legs under them. It's still such a new group. It's their first playoffs together as a unit. And this has been really, really great run in all three games thus far to build chemistry, build confidence as the playoffs continue.
And for a second consecutive games, essentially all the starters, save for Tobias Harris, had the opportunity to watch from the bench in the fourth quarter. Tobias played a little bit more than 5 minutes in Saturday's fourth quarter, but so great to see the 76ers being able to rest and replenish some of their top players while also winning a few of these games handily.
No doubt about that. Really cool to see the starters rest in not one, but two of these three games down the stretch. That's something we didn't even see a ton in the regular season. So, really cool to see twice now in just three opportunities in the playoffs. The team, of course, now hoping that the sweep can yield a lot more rest over these next few days.
Team goes up 3-0. We've heard and seen this script before play out in media sessions. What's the obvious question? What's the mindset going into game four with a chance to break out the brooms and go for a sweep? Doc Rivers discussed.
I didn't say much after this. I just said great job, and we've done nothing. I've said that after every game. We've done nothing. So we just got to keep marching, keep doing what we're doing.
Very simple, straightforward, to the point from Doc Rivers, a guy who's won a championship before with the Boston Celtics, obviously in 2008. And I really like this attitude and the tone that Doc's setting, Lauren, and clearly it's extending to the players as well. Very businesslike, not satisfied, not patting themselves on the back, smelling themselves after so far owning a series in the first round. They have bigger goals.
Well, it's the businessman mentality that you just mentioned. Dwight Howard talked to me about that prior to game two, talking about the fact that they are not there to do anything other than win in Washington. This is a business trip for the 76ers. So far, they have accomplished half of what they're looking to accomplish on the business trip, with an opportunity to make it a quick trip and get home tonight.
76ers shooting better than 58.5% from the field in the win in game three, holding Washington to under 40% shooting. Sixers 51.5% from three, Washington under 23%, plus 10 on the glass for the Sixers. Great formula for success. We talked about Joel Embiid, his dominance, 36 points, a career high in the playoffs. Big fella, what's he going to do in game four? It just seems like he's getting more and more powerful. There he is, walking in with Bubs for tonight's game, game four at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., as the Sixers trying to go for the sweep against the Washington Wizards. Lauren, he's just been absolutely outstanding. You run out of superlatives to bestow upon a gentleman like Joel.
I mean, 36 points in 27 minutes and an awesome sweatshirt as well. He's doing it on and off the court. It's been a pleasure to watch Joel in this series. And it does still seem like he has another gear to shift into as the playoffs go along. It's something he's even alluded to. Anytime he gets to rest two consecutive fourth quarters, we're not even getting the privilege of watching fourth quarter Joel Embiid, who has been so much fun to watch all season long. And I'm sure there is some of that yet to come down this road.
Joel Embiid with the iconic signature moment, which I'm sure we will see again in this highlight package from game three. Sometimes you have to miss a dunk in order to unleash a hellacious dunk that sticks. And Joel Embiid did that and then some. He's just shooting, Lauren, at such an incredible rate for this series at nearly 67.5% through the first three games of the series. No doubt about it, he's scoring in high volume. His three-point shooting has been terrific. And when he's on, like the way he's been on, as Scott Brooks, the head coach of the Wizards, has talked about, Daniel Gafford, a big man from Washington, has talked about, they're referencing and talking about Embiid as if he's the MVP. They're like, he's in that conversation for a reason. And he can bully you inside. He can stroke a finesse touch jump shot. Just hard to imagine how you would be able to slow him down.
Yeah, Celtics, it's in the bottom of your screen, but it bears repeating. 36 points off 18 shots. That is just So impressive. He is making it look easy in a setting where it is not easy. This is a Wizards team. We've called them the 8 seed. We talked about having to battle into the playoffs, but they've done some really impressive things over the last couple of months. Joel Embiid, not bothered, not ruffled one bit by this Wizards group.
Washington saying before tonight's game, their head coach Scott Brooks confirming that Daniel Gafford, the young big man for the Wizards, he is going to start in tonight's game over Alex Len. We've also seen Robin Lopez get minutes at the 5, trying to slow down Embiid. But if you hadn't heard, there has been no answer for Joel Hans Embiid. Sticking the slam, and afterwards, he looks like a guy who's not content with anything.
No, sir, he is not willing to celebrate, nor is his head coach, nor are his teammates. These guys have this businessman mentality. I know we keep saying it, but tonight, an opportunity to put that mentality to work. Tyrese Maxey said this morning that Dwight Howard said they need to treat it as a win or go home game. I love that mentality as well. You don't want to get caught slipping after you win 3 in a row. The difference between 6 days of rest versus 4 or 3 versus 5. It's a huge difference in this league after this condensed season. Keep that foot on the gas. Listen to Dwight Howard, your veteran, who says it is time to play like a game 7, like a win or go home opportunity. Even though either way, they will win or go home because, coming back to Philly either way.
Double team, triple team, or slightly leaning towards single coverage, which is what Washington did a lot of in game 3 against Joel Embiid. Wizards have not been able to contain him, Joel Embiid, after the game on Saturday.
There's nothing to be happy about. Job's not done. We gotta close out the series. We gotta get one more win and then worry about the rest later. We gotta go. And to get to that goal, we gotta take one game at a time. And there's no reason to be happy about where we are. We just want to take it step by step and make sure we don't skip any and to accomplish our goal.
The bench, Lauren, to me in game 2, had a really great night, gave the Sixers a quality lift, but very much in game 3 on Saturday. This was about the starters. When they were out there for the first 6 to 8 minutes, Washington just couldn't do anything against them. The reserves came on, the Wizards got back into the game a little bit, but every time the starters came back on the floor, 76ers regained control of the game. And as we look at some of the numbers, the Sixers starting group was plus 28 when on the court, sharing the floor together in game 3 on Saturday. And for the series, the Sixers starting 5 has outscored the Wizards by nearly 17 and a half points when it's been on the court. And that's the highest mark for any starting group, any 5-man group of any type in the postseason, whether they've played 3 games or 4 games or however long the series has gone.
Scott Brooks, Wizards head coach, talked about the Sixers starting 5 just prior to our stream, and he said that they're just as good as any other group of starters in this league, which of course is high praise when you look around the league and you look at potentially some starting 5s the Sixers could run into very shortly. Really good to hear that type of praise from an opposing head coach, of course, and good to see that group click the way that they did. I really enjoyed Celts watching the offense sort of hum. It reminded me at times of those Warriors teams that had played so long together, really knowing each other's spots. That's something that this team has prided itself on learning to do quickly. And it was clear that they've worked really hard on knowing where and when to find one another in game 3.
We mentioned Joel Embiid having a career-high playoff scoring performance in Game 3. Ben Simmons, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. I don't think anyone was really making much of just a, ho-hum 20, 13, and 5 game. Another super efficient night for Tobias Harris. Of course, there's Danny Green and Seth Curry knocking down threes. Ben Simmons enjoying what he has been seeing from the 76ers first stringers.
Yeah, I felt good about it. We had to get stops first to even get that transition going. And then Danny, he caught fire, had a lot of great looks, which, opened up everybody else. And then Seth, started getting his shots. And obviously Joel, because you got to stop the other guys to obviously get Joel open. So for us, it was great. Joel caught fire. He started doing his thing, and then Tobias was also doing his thing. So it's hard to stop everybody.
Ben Simmons after game 3 in Washington, D.C. on Saturday night. On this Memorial Day Monday, the 76ers are in the house. Always great to take a peek at what's taking place on the court. We mentioned how the starting group for the 76ers set the tone on Saturday. Matisse Thybulle, obviously from the reserve group, getting ready for game 4 tonight, a chance for him to emerge as a member of a winning team in a playoff series for the first time in his young career. And no doubt about it, certainly looking at a game like game 2, when he had the 5 blocks and the 4 steals, a big part of the 76ers' success in this series. 3-point
Yeah,
shooting,
great to see.
fantastic for the Sixers. Oh, sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
No. You go.
Okay. I was just saying 3-point shooting, absolutely key for the Sixers as we look at a telling stat and through line for what's been happening through the first 3 games so far.
No doubt about that, Celts. It's been really cool to see starters and players off the bench alike finding heat from 3. And I think I know where we're headed. We got to talk about Seth Curry and Danny Green in game 3.
We do. We have to talk about the shirt. First and foremost, that set the bar high as the guys were getting on the plane to head down to DC for game 3, but then the duo delivered.
The shirt Celts is referring to, of course, the green Curry House of Threes that Seth Curry was wearing, getting on the plane to head down to game 3 in Washington. Cool to see the two of them, of course, get in on a little bit of wordplay, but also get into some gameplay and shoot threes with confidence, the way you expect a Seth Curry, a Danny Green to do. But awesome to see them fall the way that they did in game 3.
5 3-pointers in the first half for Danny Green in game 3. And I thought, Lauren, one of the stretches where the Sixers really took control was in the first quarter when they went on a 16-2 run. A little bit after this, the Sixers knocked down 4 3-pointers in a row over the course of that run. And it just seemed like at every point when then there was a little bit, this is part of that run right here, when there was a little bit of a threat being mounted by the Wizards, the Sixers just were able to dial up some key threes. Danny Green was a big part of that. And like we were talking about, one of the most telling statistics about this series so far, the 76ers through 3 games have knocked down 36 threes, just 18 for the Wizards. So the 76ers doubling them up in that category. And the adjustment Scott Brooks made for game 3 was to bring in Davis Bertans. I didn't get much out of him, Lauren.
And it can be deflating when you see guys like Danny and Seth hit threes the way that they did in this second quarter. And it's deflating as well when guys like Davis Bertans, who you say stepped into the starting lineup, of course, in game 3 as an adjustment, can't make the threes fall. I mean, it's a cliche, but the guys who are making their threes are the guys who are usually going to find themselves in the win column. This game, of course, no exception. Really great to see this run because of how deflating it was. This was probably one of my favorite plays, by the way, Celts. Love the way that Ben Simmons can start it, Seth Curry can finish it. Deflating.
Taking a look at some of that suffocating 76ers defense. Tobias Harris there. And maybe we will be able to see some Tobias Harris in real time. Now, there he is at Capital One Arena. Great job, Ryan Coletti, on the segue. Tobias Harris looking to be a series winner for the second time as a member of the 76ers. He was, of course, a part of the team when they beat Brooklyn in the first round in 2019. This is his 3rd year in the playoffs with the Sixers, just having a great series. I mean, the 37-point game in game 1, Lauren, and just very steady in games 2 and 3.
Yeah, wonderful in that 37-point performance when they needed him. But then I like what you said just moments ago, Celts, a quiet 20-13 performance from Tobias in game 3. Not that many players in this league can even put up a quiet 20-13 night, but Tobias Harris does it pretty darn regularly.
You're in all these Zoom rooms before games, after games, at shoot-around. There was a quote that Tobias had following the game on Saturday that I really liked a lot about the 76ers approach to this series and really the playoffs in general.
Sorry, Celts, my computer lagged there for a second. I think I missed what you said about Tobias. I bet it was a really good quote. I just don't know what you were teeing off.
The one game at a time, 4 in a row mindset.
I really appreciated that. What a concise and direct way to talk about what they want to do. Because when you go in trying to sweep, you might struggle. That's a lofty goal. When you go into the playoffs trying to win the championship before you win your first series, you're going to struggle. This is a team that has been consistently talking about taking things one day at a time, one game at a time, one at a time, 4 in a row, and a chance to finish that goal tonight.
This time last week, one of the questions, Lauren, surrounding the 76ers going into the playoffs, I think, at least for me, was how much of Tyrese Maxey are we going to see? Because the young fella, the rookie, came on strong down the stretch of the regular season, and he's been given opportunities by Doc Rivers and the coaching staff through the first 3 games of this series. He's made his presence felt. It's not like we're seeing a 39-point game against Denver, but you don't need that in the postseason. You need a change of pace. You need a different look. We especially saw that in games 1 and in game 2. The guy continues to be given opportunities and make the most of them.
No doubt about it. And it's been a pleasure to watch him do that all season long and somehow find ways to improve his game, even through stretches where he found himself out of the rotation, on the bench, watching on. Every time he has found and earned minutes, rather, he's shown that he's been able to improve during the time in between those stretches. And Tyrese said this morning that his dad taught him that proper preparation prevents poor performance. That's a tongue twister, but it's a truism as well. And Tyrese Maxey has just been living up to that advice all season long since the day he was drafted.
I'm not even going to try to repeat that, but I was very impressed that I didn't hear any popping peas from your microphone. It's one thing to do alliteration, but if you have to broadcast and then try to replicate multiple P sounds, that's not easy. That takes skill.
Seltz, there's not a lot that I'm good at, but tongue twisters,
Ah.
I'm decent. I do a decent job.
All right, Lauren, well, you've been in the Zoom rooms. Why don't you take us into our inside access segment for tonight?
Seltz, I could have done a better job with this segue, of course, as is often the case, but I did talk to Tyrese Maxey this morning after he told us a little bit about what his dad advises him on. He talked to me about some of his teammates and the way that he's embraced his first ever playoff performance. Hey, Tyrese, great to see you. I'm wondering what you expected out of your first NBA playoffs and how the reality is now matching up with those expectations.
I think this is pretty much exactly what I expected. I mean, we were blessed to have fans come back in the building, so we get to see kind of the crowds, the home crowd in Wells Fargo, and then like the hostile crowds here in the Wizards Arena. So, it's been great. It's been cool to see like the chess matches between the coaches, like how we, mix up schemes and how we change things game by game. And it's crazy playing the same opponent over and over and over again. So it's like pretty fun.
You actually led me into my second question there. I know you had a couple 2-game series throughout the season, but this is your first real multi-game best of 7 series. Doc said yesterday that he really likes using your speed to match up with Ish Smith. What's it been like to sort of see that same matchup over and over again and get to make your own chess moves?
It's like deja vu. And then I was telling my mom and dad about watching film, and watching them trying to take away, certain people that have been guarding strengths. And it's just crazy. You can see the different games, and it's just wild to think. Matisse, why you always want to? Matisse, leave me alone. But anyways, like I was saying, watching film and realizing different guys' tendencies. So,
Tyrese Maxey, thanks so much. Always fun to hear the guys bantering out at shoot around. Of course, Tyrese started quite a good answer there and then didn't get to finish it because of his teammate Matisse Thybulle. But it's been awesome to see the two of them get to know one another, bond together. And Tyrese has expressed that Matisse has taught him a lot on the defensive end. Matisse feels the same way about Tyrese, which I believe to be just beautiful, wholesome content, not unlike what we are looking at here. The pair, the rookie and the sophomore, warming up together, smiles all around. This is the best.
It really, if this doesn't warm your 76ers fandom heart, look at that. I don't know why it makes me laugh.
That's the type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just beautiful. Thank you so much, Ryan Coletti, for turning that around really quickly.
Beautifully in sync. You love to see it. You really do. What great value those two draft picks. Matisse Thybulle at 20 last year and Tyrese Maxey at 21 this year. Applause, Elton Brand and Daryl Morey on those picks. 76ers front office. Look at that.
And I know you don't draft based on potential for wholesome content, but if you did, that would only increase the value in those two picks.
It's tremendous. All right, let us get now to the keys to the game. Game 4, 76ers in a closeout situation. Some would posit that closeout games are the toughest games to win. I don't know if, in the context of this series on, with all due respect to the opponent, I necessarily believe that.
I'm with you, Seltz. When I looked at your key to the game, it was actually the key to the game that I was going to go with. So I'm not going to spoil it, but my second choice to my key to the game was reserve run. We've seen what the starters have been able to do in this series. The reserves had a quieter night in game 3. That, of course, because they didn't need to have as loud of a night. Ooh, I'm getting a lot of extra time here. That is great. Good thing that we just talked about Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey, because those are two guys that could certainly be relied upon down the road as this team continues to pursue a championship. Tonight, potentially a good opportunity for those guys to get run, because as we know, bench minutes do decrease. The rotation could decrease, get a little bit smaller. So any opportunity for the reserves to get some run, to get their feet under them before things get too crazy and too heated in these playoffs, a good opportunity. And I think they could have one tonight.
And if the reserves are able to get their run, that would continue a theme that we have seen over the last 2 games, bringing me to my key. If it ain't broke, 76ers have more talent. 76ers have more shooting. They have more length, athleticism, depth, better defense. They're the better team. They're the number 1 seed. They're going up against the 8 seed. Last game was a clinic. Pretty much all of game 2 was as well. Pretty much all of the second half of game 1 was just keep doing what you're doing, and this thing should end tonight. And, I feel bad. This is, again, not to disrespect or disparage the Washington Wizards. It's not even about the fact, Lauren, to me, the Sixers are up 3-0 in this series. If these 3 games were all close, if the last 2 games went similar to the way game 1 went, I don't think I'd be viewing this whole thing the way I am now. But to me, it seems like Washington's spirit might be dinged more than a little bit. And there just hasn't been that resistance, that fortitude that you would expect to see from a team. And maybe they don't have it in this series. The shooting hasn't been there. If Washington can knock down some threes, that might change things. But I still feel pretty good about the Sixers.
I am with you, Celts. It does seem that the Wizards are simply overmatched in this one. But like you said earlier, sometimes closeout games are the hardest ones to win. This, of course, a really good opportunity for the Sixers to end up with some time off. Doc Rivers said right before our stream that it would be a problem that he would love to have a little too much time off in the next few days to get these guys some rest and recuperation ahead of what could be some difficult series to come. A great opportunity for the Sixers tonight to get that first sweep in quite some time.
And it's really just intriguing to hear from the other side how they view the Sixers and the quotes coming out of the Wizards. And Scott Brooks, the head coach, said on a Zoom tonight he feels like the Sixers look like they're a team peaking at the absolute right time. This is the best, in Scott Brooks's view, the Sixers have played all season long. So if the Sixers were able to cobble all that together after about 4 days worth of practice last week between the end of the regular season and the start of round 1, just again, the more time you can get in the gym, the more valuable, especially this time of year. So here's to hoping that we don't know when we'll be talking to you next on 7-6 Live Countdown. Could be on Wednesday. Could be maybe next weekend.
Could be indeed. We will definitely be with you. But the last time that we'll do 7-6 Live Countdown on your birthday, at least this season, is probably today. So, Celts, once again, we have to wish you a very happy birthday. Thank you for everything that you do. I know Ryan Coletti has a surprise for you.
Is he playing the Ivories right here? Is this the Ryan Coletti solo piano rendition? Thank you. Really. Is it getting a little dusty in the home office?
That was beautiful. Thank you, Ryan. Happy birthday, Celts. So glad we got to do this to celebrate your birthday. Nowhere I'd rather celebrate my birthday than before a potential sweep for the 76ers. Let's hope they give you a good gift tonight.
Yes, yes. I don't know if I'm another year wiser. I just hope that I can be another year more tolerable. That's what I try to bring to my household and to my professional working environment. So thank you again, everyone. What else? Tomorrow, new episode, win or lose, of Fanatic About the Playoffs dropping on your 76ers podcast network feed. Great job, Lauren. Love listening to you, Murph, and Devon, the episode that came out yesterday. So we'll have some reaction to tonight, and hopefully we'll be doing a lot of speculating on which team we would rather the 76ers face in round 2 as we get to the Eastern Conference Semifinals. Have a great night, everyone. Enjoy the old basketball game, and happy Memorial Day.